The EU leadership is becoming a caricature of a caricature. Kallas says the EU is seriously thinking of sanctioning Israel. Yes, sanctioning Israel. And you thought it was because of the genocide in Gaza or what they're doing in Lebanon or what they're doing in the West Bank or what they're doing with the detainees or torture, sexual assault, starvation. But you would be wrong. Kallas says the EU may sanction Israel because they bought stolen wheat from Ukraine. Yep, that is why they would sanction Israel. Not because of an ongoing genocide in Gaza, not because Israel killed more than 20,000 children. We don't even know how many are under the rubble, not because Israel is killing people in southern Lebanon and detonating entire villages, killing medics, ambulance drivers, rescue workers, journalists, children. No, because Israel has bought stolen wheat from Ukraine on Russian ships. Russia stole the wheat from Ukraine, Israel has bought it, and therefore Kallas thinks that's worthy of sanctioning. Not the thousands and thousands and thousands of dead Palestinians. So, if you cross the Atlantic to join clowns, one could mistake you for being part of the circus. That is how I see the visit of the King and Queen of the UK. That they are actually giving so much weight and importance to what the world is seeing as an entirely tyrannical clown show in the United States. But it is a circus because the UK ambassador, who I talked about yesterday, has been making some very weird statements about his own government. Apparently in February, speaking to students from the UK, he talked about how Keir Starmer may not last too long, how there is no special relationship between the UK and the US, that it's in the past. The only special relationship that America has is with Israel, how he is alarmed, how nobody's been prosecuted in the US for the Epstein situation. Not many untruths there. However, I'm not sure he should have said all of that because it was recorded and given to the Financial Times, and those recordings have come out while the king is visiting the clown show here in the US. But I guess his very bizarre statements to NPR yesterday, especially about how UK intelligence has been foundational for how the Iran war is run, I guess that's par for the course for this ambassador. The UK government is saying those are his private comments, not our position. That's your ambassador. That's the second ambassador that you've appointed after the first one was caught in the whole Epstein scandal and a lot more dodgy things. That is your ambassador. He represents you. What comes out of his mouth represents the UK. In any case, Donald Trump put out a post today saying that the Iranians have reached out to the White House calling for help, saying, we are about to collapse. We're about to collapse. Open the Hormuz Strait because we are about to collapse and we don't want that collapse. And again, talking about there's such a division in their leadership and, Donald Trump saying, oh, they'll sort it out. We're sure they'll sort it out. He's looking for an exit. He's trying to convince Americans that Iran has collapsed. There is an entirely new regime. There's been a regime change, and they're reaching out to the United States for help. So maybe this is his exit, that, oh, look, it's a whole new regime. We've achieved our objectives. They're saying they themselves are saying they are about to collapse. So we don't want Iran to collapse with the new regime in power. So we're going to back off. The new talking point, which even Rubio is now uttering, maybe because Rubio is about to get dragged into solving this problem, Rubio's saying, we don't know what the Ayatollah is, and until we don't hear from the Ayatollah directly, or somebody doesn't tell us they've heard from him directly, we're just going to assume that there is nobody to speak for Iran, that it's an utterly fractured leadership. Meanwhile, Jeremy Scahill with the Drop Site is telling a podcast today, and he speaks to the insiders in Iran and to a lot of people who are in the know, that Iran has no such issues, that they see the disarray in the US, and once again, they see Witkoff as being incompetent and Jared Kushner as not representing US interests, and they also are saying something quite scary, that should Israel and the US attack them again, they are well prepared, and that they are looking at the undersea cables and how that will disrupt the internet flow in a good chunk of the world. And that should they be attacked again, that will literally blow up the world economy. They do not see themselves as being in disarray, but they certainly do see the United States as being in disarray, and the fact that they keep sending a bunch of bozos to negotiate, and they just don't know who to talk to in the US. So that is the view that is coming out of Iran. But Donald Trump certainly looks like a man who's desperate to come out of this war. So that is a roundup for today. Oh, and yes, OPEC. Apparently, the UAE has left OPEC as a gift to the United States because Donald Trump hates OPEC and wants OPEC broken up. So the UAE has given him that gift. Meanwhile, the US has given the UAE, or is agreeing to give the UAE, a pretty large swap line to bail them out because they're feeling a severe financial crunch. So the UAE also has invested in many Trump-aligned businesses. So there is that conflict of interest as well. So the UAE is doing the bidding of Donald Trump, doing the bidding of Israel, and, showing their anger at Saudi Arabia, showing their anger at Pakistan, and definitely feeling the financial pinch. But Trump is bailing out the UAE. Meanwhile, Americans are facing the highest gas prices since 2022, a lack of healthcare, accessible healthcare, affordable healthcare. Grocery prices are up 8%. Rents are unaffordable. Cost of living has just become unaffordable across the board in the United States. Farmers are suffering right now, but the UAE is going to get a massive bailout from the Trump administration. This is how corruption works. This is what quid pro quo means. The UAE invests in Trump-aligned businesses. The UAE steps out of OPEC. Now it's a give me, give me, give me. And they get a massive swap line from the US Treasury.